As promised in our daily financial update, which is something I really look forward to doing now, I gotta admit, uh, it takes something I used to do in 15 or 20 minutes and make it a 30 or 40-minute exercise, but I truly enjoy it. So, as mentioned in that report, I was going to share with you a copy of, or basically details of a report that I was given. But before I kind of go into the details and kind of tear out what I think is interesting, I want to give credit where credit is due. This was produced by Marcus and Millichap. And let me go to the. Sorry, got a phone call. But what I wanted to do was give credit to the authors. So, first and foremost, John Sabri, maybe, and John Chang were contributors to this, as were Adam Christofferson and John Vorshek. If I missed anyone, I apologize. I don't see your name on the thing, but here we go. So again, this is a report from Marcus Millichap about multifamily in the Central Valley. And as you can see, I've gone through it, marked it all up, and pulled out some details. So I guess first and foremost, a few things that were interesting. Um, I guess first, it talked about Class A, Class B, and Class C properties. It didn't define those, so you define them as you see fit. But really, a couple of things stood out. First, vacancies. A blended vacancies across all of the properties was residing at 4%, which is historically pretty low. Again, I say historically, meaning I've been doing this for almost 20 years there, and this is a good time. If occupancy is your metric, you should not have a problem, um, filling up vacancies, assuming quality matches price. Right, that is the one wrinkle. I will say they went through each of the counties. So again, Fresno, Kern, Kings, Madera, Merced, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Tulare County. All of those make up the Central Valley. I only focus on Fresno and Madera County, just to be clear. Um, so anything I give you is across all 8 counties. The lowest county was Merced County at 2.9%, with the highest being Tulare County at 5.2%. So that was interesting. As far as year over year change, all of them were right around 3%. Effective rent is right about $1,000, with the low being Madera County at 832 and the high being San Joaquin at 1167. So pretty interesting there. One thing I do want to highlight, and one of the reasons I'm big on Fresno is, at least in the current environment, is they've added almost 18,000 jobs to the area, and um, the rate of job growth exceeds Los Angeles and Orange counties, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't obviously, I think that's always interesting, right? The rate. So it's not absolute numbers. LA and Orange are much, much, much bigger counties, but the rate is interesting. Most of it is government, education, or health services. I think health services is going to be one of those things that really anchors the Central Valley because it's cheaper to live there, and you're going to see a lot of older folks move to that area. It's a slower. Um, you can just live a better quality of life in the Central Valley, in my opinion. Um, the forecast for apartment fundamentals is basically steady. They did have a whole section on rent control. They were very careful not to call it that. They referenced it as Assembly Bill 1482, right? Often called AB 1482. They basically came in and said that it is very likely that this rent control is going to affect Class C value add properties. Um, they didn't see it impacting Class A or Class B. You have to realize the creator of the report and their slanted view or skewed view. Not that I think it's overly skewed, but definitely they didn't want to call the baby ugly for political reasons or whatever. Um, but it is interesting that they looked at rent control specifically impacting Class C value add properties. This is the line that I highlighted. It says rent control could alter returns on some investments, particularly properties that still have value add potential. This basically means rent control has made it more costly to buy those. As far as investment trends go, they did say they saw more Class B assets trading than before. And they also indicated that the price per door is starting to reach that $100,000. Again, that's a blended average, so be very careful. But that's a psychological number for sure. So that's pretty interesting. Again, they talk about returns about 6%. This is why I have at least this last 12 months, I've said houses can be a better return. This bigger is better trend, this Grant Cardone thing, I think has been right for years, if not decades. But I think you can get better returns in houses today. Just do the math, and I think you'll see that. So other things of interest, year over year employment was up 1.6%. There's not a lot of building. Only 830 units were added. And when you look at the counties, the Central Valley, it's over 1 million people now, so not a lot of building going on. And there's only estimated, to be about another 500 coming. So lots of units. I gotta see why I sneeze in here all the time. Crazy. Vacancies, no change, which is interesting. Held steady at 3.8% for the year, and rent is up 4%. It's interesting. They looked at all the rent increases by counties, and none of them would have been impacted by the rent control variables. Again, you got to remember that's the average. If you happen to be an operator, an owner who has historically kept your rents low, the value of your asset is worth less because you can only raise by a certain number. So kind of self-inflicted, unfortunately. Median income, again, a full report was just under 57,000. Interesting that the average for the U.S. is 65,000 now. Affordability gap, that what they calculate, they're saying it's cheaper to rent than own today. It's cheaper by $480 when you look at all costs. Permits are down 33% on multifamilies, which is interesting. Median home price is roughly 280 grand, which is just slightly above U.S. median. 5-year growth of households, they grew 1.1%, meaning people are moving in to the area. And what else? Lowest vacancy, I think we talked about this earlier. That's Merced, 2.9. I'm just going through all my notes. Coastal capital is flowing to the central region, just better use of capital, right? They're talking about coastal cities sub 3% cap rates, and Fresno or the Central Valley being 6%. So hence more interesting. Although the flow of capital has significantly reduced because of uncertainty of rent control, or AB 1482. So that is interesting, right? There may be a great reset or a great reevaluation, so we shall see. Then it breaks down county by county. Fresno added 474 units year over year. Vacancy decreased by 20 basis points, which I think is 0.2%. Kern County has no units being built. I got that right. Yep. Vacancies down 0.1%. Kings, no development. Let's just go through this. What else? Basically, highlighting some cities are trading Class C assets, meaning older inventory and the like. Let's go to their summary. Anything else? Yeah, so the last thing they talked about is a lot of the debt financing for these apartment buildings have been funded by the government agencies. Roughly 50% of the funding for multifamily assets comes from government agencies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. It is pretty interesting to see that they are slowing down a little bit in reevaluating apartments, given the last 3 reductions in mortgage basis. So again, in general, I think the report is generally positive on multifamily. A couple of things surprised me. The construction numbers, right? New units being added really did surprise me. I'm glad they admitted that Class C properties could be impacted the most because of rent control. It's what we've talked about on this channel. So it looks like we got that one right. They talked about 6% being the kind of where we're at for cap rates. Again, I see no reason not to buy a house if I can get a cap rate of 6%, which I call the yield. If a house gives you 6% and then an apartment gives you 6%, buy the house. You get a lot more options to exit. It's a lot faster exit. Um, again, I wouldn't buy an apartment today. I buy houses today because they're just a better deal. I just feel that with every fiber of my being. And again, if you don't trust me, do the math and see where it comes for you. So, in the end, I thought this report, again, full credit to Marcus and Millichap, Central Valley multifamily report for Q4 of 2019. All right, everybody, have a great day. Hope you like that. Take care.